let's talk about how much can a single rear wheel actually tow. This is my everything truck, right? Got me a gooseneck. Not a whole lot on that gooseneck. Anyways, point of this video, how much can you really tow with a single rear wheel? About a week ago, I had 24.5 behind this truck. That's pretty much its maximum capacity, neighborhood of its maximum capacity. So I found the limits of this truck, and I wanted to share them with you. It was in the desert in Nevada, whatever you guys pronounce that. There on the back roads, 7% uphill, a few switchbacks, and obviously 7% downhill. I'm under the impression that this thing could stop anything. The exhaust brake is just so out there. If you think your 24 has a good exhaust brake, try these 25s. They are phenomenal. They're just the best thing. They're the bee's knees. When I said this thing's a mini semi, I mean this thing's a mini semi. Yeah, on the surface you turn on the exhaust brake, you get what you get, and that's not all that it has. When it feels pushed, this thing really works it, and it kicks it in, and you're boosted way up there, and it's phenomenal. So with a strong exhaust brake, I'm like, I wonder when I'm gonna meet its limits, and I did on that trip at 24.9 behind it. Now you got to consider your load. It wasn't a container, but it was a pickup truck. It was a Ram 5500 service bed, boom, all the welders. It was a heavy rig. It wasn't a boom. It was just a crane, but that's still that's quite a bit of weight on it. Just so you guys understand the context. So if you take 24 gross and you got flat steel in the back, that's a lot harder to stop than it is that pickup, because the pickup creates drag. And then if you have a container or a RV, I don't know what kind of RV you could pull at that weight, but I'm pretty sure they exist out there. Just so you understand the context. So there was some wind drag, kind of high center gravity load. So anyways, so the exhaust brake met its limits. I was barely slowing down, a 7% downhill, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It was phenomenal. I was loving it. I was slowly slowing down that hill in them twisties at 7% grade for 3 miles straight. Now that is a hard working engine right there. That's leaps and bounds, and it's worth its weight in gold, right? Ford is a joke when it comes to exhaust brake when you need it to slow you down. Ford will keep you alive on that downhill. It will work hard to maintain speed, but it will not slow you down on that downhill at those kind of weights. At least that's my experience. Now, as far as XL, right? Before you go, you need to get your brakes down, right? Gotta make sure you slow down that load. Now, the power, on the other hand, I call it as a mini semi, mini tractor. It did fine. At 24.5 behind this truck, it did fine. It pulled it like a beast until it hit the temps. Once oil hit 230, and it did hit 230, I think 219 was my tipping point. The coolant, it went up to 219, kind of brought it down and hovered in the 212 area. So the coolant was sustainable, even though it was 93 degrees outside. We need to talk about ambient temperature as well. So on the XL, everything was dandy, and then at 93 degrees, it just wasn't efficient enough. It couldn't cool off the oil enough, so it started pulling the power. I don't know, fuel, timing, whatever it was pulling, but I started losing speed, and I went from 65. I took had a run at it and came down to 54. Keep in mind at 93 ambient. Once it dropped below 85, it just maintained 65, and that's a beast. For a little pickup like that to go up and down. This isn't no I-90 climbing Columbia scenario where you got plenty of open road and it's just a breeze. This is a bunch of switchbacks, so it's a whole different animal and a lot of heat. Ambient temp, your air isn't as dense, so it's not pulling as much heat out of the radiator. So the magical number that I came to is 88. I don't know why. I want to say 88 ambient temps and lower. The truck just had enough battling efficiency. And then once it dropped below 75 ambient, there was no suck as shit, all that heat pretty quick. So, just like I was climbing out of those mountains, I climb into those mountains, right? You don't forget that. What goes up must come down. Anywho's, so hopefully that makes sense to you. Now you're going to ask, well, that's a lot of weight. The trailer easily, it was a 40-footer tandem dual. That trailer can handle more weight than what I had put on it. So you got to compare up your truck to trailer. You know, I had a pretty lightweight truck compared to the trailer, but it handled it with certainty. Would have been better with the dually? Absolutely, with all those switchbacks. Did it get sketchy? No. Did I feel pushed? Yes. There's certain turns I felt the trailer pushing the truck. Did it get sketchy? No. So, you know, there's a tool for every job. Hold on a second. Let's get this thing on check. Let's get back to 70. So, what am I trying to tell you here? Rounded up 25,000 pounds behind these trucks is pretty much the tipping point based on the ambient temperature. You know, below 85, it's sustainable. Under 75, I'm talking about ambient temp, it is just, it just does its thing. So, would I tow that weight again? Yes. I would have no problem towing that weight. I would like to see it a little bit cooler temps outside. Would I tow that weight every day for the sake of my equipment lasting a little longer than 150,000 miles? Yes. I was thoroughly impressed with the tires because given the high temperatures, you know, north of 90 most of the day, and that kind of weight behind the truck, it was just a beast. I loved it. I love working my equipment. I hate abusing my equipment, and some of you are going to be like, well, you just abused your equipment. No, at no point did I let it really overheat. How did I feel about 230 on the oil? Let's talk about that. I had semi-synthetic in there. It was T5 oil. It's a good middle-of-the-road oil. I would not run that oil day in and day out through those passes and those kind of temps. After that trip, I changed my engine oil. It was about time. No big deal, but it wouldn't be the ideal oil. Now that I say that this engine got broken in, right, give or take 18,000 miles on the clock, I'm running AMS oil. My OG subscribers are going to be like, what happened to Schaefer's? Guys, Schaefer's lost touch. They lost touch with reality. I don't know what's going on with those guys, but their prices are just astronomical. I don't know if it's my sales guy just kind of lost it. And just to answer that question once and for all, why don't you run Schaefer's? It is a phenomenal product, but it's out of line with their prices, guys. That's just stupid what their prices are. I helped Schaefer's locally to get into a lot of shops, and I was Schaefer's this, Schaefer's that, but for them to do what they did to me is just bogus. It is pathetic what they did. You know, paying $50 a gallon of oil, and you're preaching on it's just like, dude, help each other out. You know, I'm doing all this. I don't know if you guys are grasping what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Schaefer's don't care about people. That's just what it is. That's the bottom line. You know, when you got to pay $50 a gallon of oil, yeah, you keep that oil. AMS oil is far more competitive in their pricing, but their product, they're right there neck and neck. So AMS oil isn't paying me anything, but at least they're not gouging me. Let's put it that way. Anyways, so back to that. I'm in AMS oil. I'm gonna fourth go, and this truck's gonna see AMS oil for motor oil. It's gonna see AMS oil for all the regular differentials. It's not necessarily by choice that I wanted to make the switch. If anyone put them up on the scale, I'll tell you go with AMS oil for gas powered and Schaefer's for diesel. That's their foundations where they built. But when the pricing's just at such a big differentiating ratio, yeah, AMS oil all day. So that's why I went AMS oil. I'm not going to cover this topic probably again, but for the regulars, that's my answer why I went AMS oil. And a buddy of mine bought a local little stand, AMS oil stand, and he's been more than fair with me. I think that's what's helping with the pricing as well. Anyways, guys, let's wrap up this video. Would I tow 25,000 miles? Yes. Would I do it every day? Probably not, for the sake of my equipment. But if this is the only equipment I had, I would have no problem doing it. Just I would just go all out on the fluids, top of the line AMSOIL, because AMSOIL, even they have mid, grade, and high end. They don't have anything low end, but mid and high. I would just go on the high end and all across the board. If you guys are curious about oils, because all this AMSOIL propaganda, it really isn't. I've done my fair share testing in the early days, and if you guys want to, throw it in the comment section. I will talk about what I've seen, what I've learned, and how I've learned. So, yeah. With that being said, I would run this truck with the best oil I can get my hands on and just keep trucking and see how long it lasts. On that note, I'm on my third axle. And some of you guys are going to be like, go figure. Guys, it's just these axles aren't holding up. You're gonna say, well, the weight you haul, yeah, it's before and after. What about other trucks? This isn't the first time I haul that kind of weight with a regular pickup. You know, my OG Limited sees that weight pretty often, and still it's on original axle. So just settle down. It's a lot of weight for some of you guys. Some of you guys do it on the norm. And if you're a farmer, you don't bat an eye at it. You know, you guys are just, you guys are out of your mind sometimes, the kind of amount of weight you guys put on your stuff. But anyways, that's a conversation for another time. I will make a video about all the gremlins and all the little issues I've been having with this truck. I partially did that video, but I'm going to do another one to inform the average Joe what's really going on with these 25s and why I'm telling my friends to hold off. It's just, nothing has left me on the side of the road, but it's definitely annoying. Anyways, fellas, may the good Lord bless you. May you all mighty fine day, and let me know in the comment section what else you guys want to hear me talk about. Ciao, bye.